Hi, my name is Lexi, and I'm going to talk about functions and domain and range and independent and dependent variables. Function. A function is when one input goes to only one output. Whenever an input goes to multiple outputs, it's not a function but a relation. If you're demonstrating input, you use the variable x for out, and for output you use the variable y. A real-life scenario of a function is a person and their soulmate. Each person will only ever have one soulmate, so the input, or x, would be a person and the output, or y, would be the person's soulmate. A relation would be a person and their love interest. It didn't end up being the one. A person will have multiple love interests over their life, so the input x would be a person, the output y would be their love interest. Domain range. Domain is representation of a set of input or x values. Range is representation of a set of output or y values. On a continuous graph, to find domain, you would look at the first point on the x-axis and the last point on the x-axis and write those down like this. I'm just using random numbers. You would only write the equal to or greater than sign if the point is filled in. If the point is open, then you would write the equation with a more than sign. Like this. To find range on a continuous graph, you would look at the lowest point on the y-axis and the highest point on the y-axis. You would write it down like this. The open and closed point rule applies to the y-axis too. If you're mapping points on a discrete graph, you take all the points from the x-axis as domain and chart them like this. And take all the points from the y-axis as range and chart them like this. A scenario that could be used to represent domain and range is the amount of g-force being thrust upon a person while on a roller coaster. At certain points on the roller coaster, domain could be represented by the roller coaster while going downhill. Range could be represented by the amount of g-force you experience while going downhill on the roller coaster. Independent and dependent variables. An independent variable is a variable that isn't changed by the other variable you are trying to measure. The independent variable happens first and causes the dependent variable, which we will talk about in a minute. The independent variable is represented by x on a table or a graph. A dependent variable occurs because of the independent variable. The dependent variable won't change the independent variable, but the independent variable determines the outcome of the dependent variable. When put on a graph or table, the dependent variable is represented by y, and the independent variable is represented by x. I'll give you a real-life example of independent and dependent variables. The temperature during a day in July is 85 degrees. Because it is hot outside, people will go to the water park. As the temperature goes up throughout the day, more people will go to the water park. In this situation, the independent variable is the temperature, and the dependent variable is the amount of people going to the water park, because the amount of people who are going to the water park depends on the temperature. Thank you.